All right, so my family read the document titled "Starving Time,"
That's right.
and I'm asking a couple questions about it. So, Dad, what were your initial views on the document that you just read?
I thought it was an interesting assignment. I thought it was a good historical perspective outside of the mainstream of how everyone thinks Thanksgiving is this happy time, but it's more than that, right? I think that the article itself pinpointed the specific struggles of the English colony with Captain John Smith and the prejudices that England had against the savages. But in my opinion, it was a tough read because I think Thanksgiving kind of does capture, yes, it's November and the bountiful harvest and what George Washington anticipated and wanted to have, but that, when the colonists came and the Indians helped the colonists and showed them how to plant and how to survive in that new land, I thought was the spirit of capturing Thanksgiving. But obviously this article kind of pinpoints the struggles that the colonists had and some of the prejudices against the savages, the Indians, and how they interacted together. And I think it was an interesting point of view, but I thought it was just very one-sided and selective to that particular moment.
All right, thank you. Mom, same question.
Well, what was the question? I thought it was more a different point of view than what maybe was glorified to maybe the people back in England about what was happening with the colonists, because when John Smith left, maybe things weren't so bad, they weren't great, but he didn't learn about a lot of the stuff, like the people that he left to govern everybody kind of did what they did in England, is why the people left, is that they were like taking everything and leaving very little for the less fortunate, and so the poor people were getting very little food, and the governors were getting all of the food and the bounty and stuff, that eventually the poor people or the non-governing people had to like negotiate with the Indians and sold weapons and stuff to the Indian and traded it for food. And sometimes they got desperate and they had to do some horrible things that, nose faulting of the wife. Let's just say that.
All right, thank you. Maddie, same question as Mom and Dad. What were your views on the document that you just read?
I thought it was pretty gruesome. I mean, because they were left with, the people in Jamestown were left with almost nothing, and they had to result to some pretty dire situations or whatever, and they ended up eating, each other, which is not very good in the long run. And
some.
Well, yeah, but and you can clearly see I've not really absorbed this article. And it changed my view on Thanksgiving because it's less friendly than what it was made out to be, and how it's more signaling the end of harvest rather than people gathering together and,
Giving thanks.
Giving thanks.
I think they blame the savages, the Indians, unrightly so, because I think the Indians were fine before them and they would have been fine afterwards, and I think that it's an unfortunate portrayal, especially if it became if it was secondhand from Captain Smith and he wasn't even there for that. But obviously it was tough times, but not indicative of the entire period and what Thanksgiving is come to be portrayed in our country.
And also, was looking at the dates and all of this stuff, The Starving Time was written in 1609, and I think that the account by John Smith was written in 1624, which was later, but then Thanksgiving wasn't declared till, I think, 1789, which is a long time after everything, and so maybe this is kind of an example of maybe how history isn't necessarily as accurate as you think it is. and different people have different accounts of history, and not one is 100% accurate because it depends on who you are and where you are in a point in time.
All right. Thank you. That was good.